We start our Mangalachan prayers.
Yeah.
Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajam Natanvitam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganate He Krishna Karna Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Mostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Bhagavan ki Jai.
Jai.
So, welcome everybody to our second session on the use of meters to recognize the various verses and how to sing those verses, recognize the tunes for verses. And also, if we have time today, we'll go through the entire Chorashtakam to see how the meter can actually bring out hidden meanings within a verse. So, which will be very interesting. So what I'll do is we'll quickly have a recap of what we did last time. So I'm just going to share the screen here. So here we have, last time we started off talking about Chanda. Chanda means meter or prosody. So first we talked about the various techniques used by the Vedic scholars for passing down the Vedas. Now we know that they did it all orally, they learned it, they memorized all the verses, they memorized not just the verses, they memorized entire Vedas and they passed it on. So how did one go about doing that without any errors at all? And by making sure that it got passed on precisely as it was first spoken by the Lord. So the Vedas, like we learned, were apaurushaya. They emanated from the Lord's breath. And the first technique which is used for oral transmission is rhythm. So just like, when you have a tune, it gets stuck in your head. So the same way, the rhythm or the meter, the chanda, helps us to remember shlokas simply because it goes in a particular tune. Yeah. So, how kids may want to, when they're learning, what's that song? Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. They go twinkle, twinkle, little star. So it's like na, 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 na. So even if they don't know the words, initially you'll find the kid actually going, meow, 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 meow. The words aren't coming out, but the tune's coming out. So rhythm or meter is very important when it comes to learning shlokas. The second, when it comes to especially the Vedic shlokas, the pitch of each syllable is very important. So we took the example of the Purusha Sukta, where we said some syllables go high, some syllables go low, and some syllables can go, they continue in the same tone, and then some go na, na, na. So, for instance, in the Purusha Sukta, it starts off, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, na, 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 na. So all this, the pitch is fixed for each syllable. So whether, again, even if you don't remember the word, the pitch helps remember what the word was. Okay. The third is the physical movements of the head and the hands. So this again, in our Sanskrit class, we're always doing that, where we do the short and the long syllables. So we go up, ah, na. So that way we know which syllable is long, which has to be elongated, which is short. Now, when you're learning entire passages, this whole thing again comes into play. So it's not just the short and the long, but it's also the, the ups and the downs and the mudras and all the rest, which helps in remembering a verse. So you could do things like, pointing to different parts of your body when you're talking in terms of, so for instance, the verse which talks about Kayena vacha manasendriyeva. So you could go Kayena vacha manasendriyeva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhava. So just the following that pattern of hand movements will help us remember what comes next. So, and the last Vedic technique was the fact that everybody recited in groups, which meant that if one person went wrong, everybody could pick that up and correct that person. Yeah. So again, for us, when it comes to learning shlokas, reciting in a group would probably be very useful. So when we're trying to learn shlokas, we decide on the correct meter, the chanda, we decide on the correct pitch, we decide on what hand movements we want to use, what head movements we want to use, and then we recite it in a group. And automatically, so this is just like, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above. So already the hand, the head, everything goes up. So whether the child remembers the words or not, this is happening, and this is happening. So the body tends to remember, the mind, the brain tends to remember muscle movements more easily than words. So using actions is a very good way to learn verses. Then we looked at what is a meter. So we decided we'd focus on the first one, which is the most important, the rhythm. Yeah. And so what is a chanda? So short syllables, long syllables together, come together to form a rhythm. And without a chanda or a meter or a rhythm, there cannot exist a verse in Sanskrit. Yeah. So we saw how this particular verse says, a person who recites mantra without knowing the rishi, chanda, swara, and devata commits a sin and is like a thorn embedded in the mantra. So chanting a mantra without knowing exactly how it is supposed to be chanted is like a thorn inside the mantra itself. It causes a lot of pain to the mantra. Now, this obviously brings us to the question, do mantras actually have that kind of power? Do they have feelings? Because a thorn in the side of the mantra means what? so the answer to that would be a resounding yes, because we saw last time in the story of Ritrasura, right? Where when a mantra, the words were not wrong, but just their emphasis, the pitch, the udata and the anudata were incorrect. They were switched around. And that caused a complete reversal in what was trying to be achieved. So understanding a meter is very useful, very important for us, especially mainly because we are trying our best to learn so many shlokas. A number of us are doing courses like Bhakti Shastri, where we're trying to learn verses. A number of us are just trying to chant verses for the pleasure of the deities. Some of us are actually going out and doing programs, and that means we need to, be able to pronounce the verses correctly. So learning the Chanda becomes very, very important. Hare Krishna Mataji, sorry, I saw you waiting, but then it didn't. Sorry for keeping you waiting so long. So coming back to, we're just doing a recap.
Okay.
So, coming back to what is a Chanda? A Chanda is made up of usually 4 lines of verse, and the number of syllables in each line could be the same or they could be different. And each of those syllables could be either short or long. So then we actually looked at the alphabets to figure out what is meant by a short vowel and what is meant by a long vowel or a long syllable. Okay, a syllable basically means vowel. So when we look at vowels, are you able to see the alphabets? Okay, good.
Yes.
So when we look at the vowels, it's very important that we realize that the the I, the U, and the Ru, these are the only short vowels. All the rest of them are long, which means when we pronounce these vowels, the short vowels take a particular amount of time and the long vowels take double the amount of time. So when we're actually pronouncing these mantras, it is a good idea to exaggerate and elongate the long vowels and leave the short one really short. Okay, that way you'll never go wrong when it comes to trying to getting the meter right. Now, last time we did not go through the consonants because where the consonants are pronounced and how, I actually have a very detailed video on my YouTube channel. And what I'll do is when I put this video up on YouTube, I'll put the link to that video down there. I would strongly suggest that if you are interested in actually getting pronunciation right, you watch that video, yeah, and try and follow those techniques, the techniques of knowing which consonant emanates from where in the mouth so that it's pronounced absolutely correctly, purely. So then after that, we looked at how to identify whether a akshara, a syllable, is laghu or guru. Laghu meaning short and guru meaning long. So we said a, I, u, ru. These are the short ones. Yes, there is l as well, but that's hardly ever used. And the long ones are a, I, u, ru, e, I, o, ow. Yeah. And also, when a short vowel is followed by 2 consonants, the short vowel becomes a long one. Okay. And as an example, we looked at Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha. So we said here, we look at the first one, E, but then after that, so this is the E is short, but because there are two consonants behind it, the N and the the E actually becomes Guru, heavy. Okay. So Guru, then A is also Guru, the I. So Ma, next to it is only one consonant, so it remains short, Laghu. Ni is short, and after that it is Pa and Ra, two consonants, Ra. So that makes it again a long or a Guru, a heavy akshara, syllable, and so on. So, are there any questions around this? Yes, Mataji.
You gave us homework, Mataji.
Yes, I did. So let's do one thing. Let's go through all the other chandas that we did not manage to get. And then we look at the homework, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we did. So we learned, and then we looked at Anushtup. Yeah. And we started looking at all the other shlokas and the chandas. So we started with the ones which have 11 syllables per line. We started with the Guru Ashtakam. And we said that that was in a meter called Indra Vajra. Now here we also learned that each meter, the name of the meter actually can indicate what is the content of that particular verse supposed to indicate. So for instance, here you have Samsara Dava Nalalidhaloka. Samsara Dava Nalalidhaloka. Pranaya Karunya Ghana Ghanatvam. It's such a heavy verse. It's about the Guru. Guru means heavy. Yeah, Guru, the word Guru itself means heavy. And this verse is about the Guru. It's praising the Guru. And the Guru is a person who's strong enough to cut down all our um, bad habits, all our negatives. Just like Indra's Vajra, nothing can stand in front of the Vajra. Nothing can stand in front of the Guru. So we looked at the Gurvashtakam, Indra Vajra. We looked at the Gopi Gita, Rajahamsi, also known as Kanakamanjari. Jayati te dhikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvadatrahi दयितदृश्यतां दिक्षु तावकस्त्वयि धृतासवस्त्वां विचिन्वते. So although the Guru Ashtakam is also 11 syllables per line, the Gopi Gita is also 11 syllables per line. We see that the two do not match up when it comes to the tune. It's very difficult to be able to sing Samsara Dava. Okay. Jayati te dhikam janmanavra. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work because here there is a lot of guru in this particular verse. It's guru, guru, lagu, guru, guru, lagu, and so on. Whereas this one is lagu, lagu. There's a lot of lagu. So there are lots of short sounds here. So it's even though they both have 11 syllables, the tunes are not quite interchangeable. Yeah. And we also said how the Gopi Gita is so special because there are some very beautiful embellishments hidden in the Gopi Gita, like the second syllable being the same in all the verses. Jaya, Shraya, Ya, the Yi, Ya, Twa Yi, Ya. So Ya, and the first Ja and the seventh syllable, the seventh consonant being the same. Ja, Ja, Sha, Sha, Da, Di, Twa, and Twa. So this pattern goes through the whole Gopi Geet. So we looked at that as well. And then we came to the Chorashtakam. I'm not going to touch the Chorashtakam right now because what I would actually like to do is go through each and every verse of the Chorashtakam in detail, because that is, it's actually a magical stotra. Okay? And we'll look at that in more detail when we go through it. So we'll come to other, now these are some other verses from the Bhagavad Gita, the 11th canto, which are also 11 syllables, and they all come in the same tune. Tvamadideva Purusha Puranas Tvamasya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Vetasi Vetam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwamananta Rupa. Now this is in a meter called Prema. Okay. The next one here, which I've got here, is Ichhavaha sartham asatkritosi vihara shayyasana bhojaneshu ekotha papyachyuta tat samaksham takshamaye twamaham aprameyam. This is in Upajati. The tune is the same. Okay? But these actually fit together. Why are they different? Because if you look at the patterns are different. So it's Lagu Lagu Guru, whereas this is Guru Guru Lagu Guru. Yeah. And then if you look at another one, yet another one from the 11th chapter, this is in a meter called Buddhi. Tasmat pranamya pranidhaya kayam prasadaye tvamahamisha medium piteva putresya sakheva sakhyu priya priyayarhasi deva sodhum. So this is where Arjuna is praying to the Lord, saying, please, think of me as, just another person who you love a lot and therefore you will forgive. Yeah? Whereas in this one, it is prema, there is love. Tvamadideva Purusha Puranas, he's praising the Lord. In this particular verse, he's praising the Lord. And in this one, he's requesting the Lord. Then there is, let's look at some verses which are 12 syllables. First one here is in a meter called Druta Vilambita. Druta means fast. Vilambita means slow. Vilamba. Druta means fast. Vilambita slow. So this verse goes Nigamakalpataror Galitam Shukhamukhadamritadrava samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. So here you can see how it actually goes fast, goes slow. Goes fast, goes slow. Nigamakalpa taror. Nigamakalpa is really fast. Taror Galitam Phalam Shukamukhadamritadrava samyutam. It's almost like the flow of water. So it goes fast, and then it goes slow because it's come to a little, it needs to go uphill a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's going downhill again. Yeah. So that is Druta Vilambita. 12 syllables. Now we have yet another verse which 12 syllables, which is our famous Damodarashtakam. Now this is in a meter called Bhujanga Prayatam. Bhujanga means snake. Prayatam means movement. So the Damodarashtakam is in the meter which is like the movement of a snake. So it kind of winds along. Okay. So how does the Damodarashtakam go? Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Vrajamanam. So it's like, or if you've seen, in India, the snake charmers who go, so this is it. They're going, Namamishwaram Sachidanandarupam. Now, since this is in the meter called Bhujanga Prayatam, if we try and sing it in a tune which does not quite fit it, because I've heard it being sung also, Namamishwaram Sachidanandaru. Now here what you're actually doing is firstly the sat, you're taking it up. Na 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 na. And that is not quite what a snake is doing. Na, 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 na. It's a nice, well-fed snake, just nicely going along. So that's the Damodara Ashtakam. Then we come to a verse, a very beautiful verse. This is also 12 syllables. And the meter is called Sragvini. Srag means garland or wreath. Vini, so one who is bearing or wearing a garland. Now, if you know this prayer, the Achyutashtakam. Achyutam Keshavam Ramanarayanam Krishna Damodaram Vasudevam Hare. This is the same tune. Okay, Sragvini, that is also in Sragvini. So this one goes Balika Talika Talali Lalaya Sanga Sandarshita Bhrulata Vibhrama Gopika Gita Dattavadhana Swayam Sanjagau Venuna Devaki Nandana. So this is from the Krishna Karanamrita, and it talks about how Krishna is. So the words here are Balika, which is the gopis, Balika, Talika, so they are clapping. Yeah, Balika, Talika. Tala means rhythm. Leela, so this whole Leela of the girls clapping in rhythm, Laya, Krishna is lost in that. Sanga Sandarshita, and he is with them. He's lost in it. And Bhru Lata Vibhramaha. He is moving his his eyebrows, like a creeper, very nicely, in tune with those, with the rhythm. Okay, so you can see that rhythm happening here. Balika, Talika, Talali, Lalaya, Sanga Sandarshita, Bhrulata, Vibhrama. So it's like the rhythm is right there. And this is the genius of Sri Bilvamangal Thakur. How beautifully he uses all these meters to bring out the meanings within the verses. Yeah. So the next one that we look at is 14 syllables. So this is the Brahma-Samhita, Vasanta Tilaka, which we looked at in detail, quite in detail last time. Yeah. So we have Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham. So Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham 14. So this is Vasanta Tilaka, which means the head ornament of spring. Vasanta Tilaka. It's so beautiful. So I don't know if you've noticed, but when you this Vasanta Tilaka seems to be a favorite of Lord Brahma. Whenever Brahma is praising the Lord, you'll find that quite a few of his prayers, he manages to compose them in Vasanta Tilaka, which is quite interesting. Then you have, so now again, with the same 14 syllables, let's look at the Upadeshamrita. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyet dikshasi chet pranatibhischa bhajantam isham shushushaya bhajana vignamananyamanya nindadishunya hridamipsita sangalabhya. Same Vasanta Tilaka. Okay. Both of them have the same pattern of Guru, Guru, Laghu, Guru, Laghu, 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 Guru, Laghu, Laghu, Guru, Laghu, Guru, Laghu. Both of them have that same pattern. Any questions so far? Any comments? Anything? Okay. I'm assuming it's all clear. Coming to 17 syllables per line. How many? Okay, just a quick question. What do you think would be the maximum number of syllables in a line? Just a guess. We know 8 is Anushtup, 11 is Upajati, both are in the Bhagavad Gita. We've come up to 17 syllables, 16 is the Brahma-Samhita. How many do you think would be a maximum? Guess. A random number.
40?
Well, I haven't come across 40 yet. I'd be very keen to do that. But I have come across, my largest number here is 26.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Wow.
Now this, when we come to 17, so just like we had Druta Vilambita earlier, which meant fast and slow, this one also means fast and slow, or rather slow and fast. Mandakranta. Slow and then fast. Manda akranta. Manda akranta. Yeah. So this one goes Naham vipro na cha narapatir napi vaishyo na shudro Naham varni na cha grihapatir no vanastho yatirva Kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purnamritabde Gopi bhartu padakamalayur dasa dasanudasaha. This is one way. This is the very Vedic way of chanting. Now, if you remember our Shad Goswami Ashtakam, that is in the same Mandakranta. Now, the tune which Prabhupada sings that is, what is the tune? Does anybody remember?
Nana Shastra.
Very good. Yes, Nana Shastra Vidana Rana Shastra Vidana Kaika Nipuram. The first one.
Sadharma Samstapakau.
Lokanam hitakarinau tribhuvane
Manyau.
Aranyakarau. Yeah, that's the second verse, isn't it? So the same can be used here. Naham no, sorry. That one would be my mistake. That is Shardula Vikridita. Mandakranta is Naham vipro na cha narapatir napi vaishyo na shudro Naham varni na cha grihapatir no vanastho yatirva Kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purnamritabde Gopi bhartu padakamalayur dasa dasanudasaha. So This one again. Na 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 na. It's like, it's going across and then suddenly there is a dip. There is speed. It picks up speed. Na ham vipro na cha narapatir na pi vaishyo na shudro na ham varni na cha grihapatir no vanasto yathirva. Yeah? So that is Mandakranta, 17 syllables. Then the same 17 syllables, we have the Jagannatashtakam, which is in a verse called Shikharini. Now this one, if we try singing it in the other tune of Mandakranta, it doesn't quite work. Let's give it a try. Na 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 na. Kadachit kalindi tata vipina sangeeta karavo doesn't really fit in. Because what actually happens here is, look at this. Kadachit kalindi tata vipina sangeeta karavo. What is actually happening is na 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 na. There is a gentle break. When you look at the Mandakranta, it is na 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 na. There are breaks. These are called sishura. Where it ceases. There is a small little break in the tune itself, in the meter itself. So if we try singing another verse, even though it has the same number of syllables, it will not quite fit in because the pattern is different. Here it starts off with all gurus, whereas here there is a lagu in the beginning and that throws it all off. And then there are 4 gurus. Here there is 1 lagu, 5 gurus. So the meter just doesn't blend. So Jagannatashtakam. Now, why are we doing all this? When we come across a meter, the first thing we need to do is count the number of syllables that we have, okay, per line. Then we can come and say, okay, let's say it's 17 meters. 17 syllables. So then we know it's either Mandakranta or Shikharini, which are the most commonly used meters. So then we look at the pattern and we try and figure out which of these two it actually fits. And once we figure out the pattern, we know which tune to use. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now we come to Shardula Vikriditam. Shardula means a tiger. Vikriditam, playing. Okay. So the play, the playing, the antics of a tiger. So there are a few tunes that can be used for this. So for the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, Prabhupada uses this tune. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Parau Premamritam Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyau Priyakarau Nirmatsarau Pujitau Shri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhuvi Bhuvo Bharavahantarakau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. Now here you will get the tune right if, like we said earlier, all the gurus, you elongate them. And the lagus, you keep them short. Okay. So Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Parau Au Premamritam Ho Nidhi. But if you don't go Premamrita, if you go Premamritam Ho, it doesn't work. You will fall short. Yeah. So always try and elongate. the long ones. Yeah. Dhira dhira jana priyav. Don't go dhira dhira jana priyav. It's not right. And in fact, we'll end up changing the meaning as well, because just like we do with the Guru Ashtakam that we sing in the morning, the last paragraph. What's the last paragraph? Yasya prasada. Yeah. So how does it go? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado.
Yasya prasadam
Yasya prasadan. So it's very important that we elongate the ah. Why? Because it changes the meaning otherwise. The first line says Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasadah. जिसके प्रसाद से भगवान का प्रसाद मिलता है. One whose mercy is the Lord's mercy. The second line is Yasya aprasadan. So the Yasya and the together becomes Yasya. A plus A becomes A. Okay? So it becomes Yasya prasadan nagati kutopi. So what we're actually trying to say is when his mercy is withheld, I have now nowhere to go. I have no choice. I have nothing to do then. So if we say instead, if we shorten it, it becomes Yasya Prasad. By his mercy only, I am doomed.
It's like Indra, Vrittasura.
On one hand, I'm saying, oh, my dear Gurudev, without your mercy, I have nowhere to turn. And when you give me mercy, oh Gurudev, I have nowhere to turn. I'm doomed. So elongating, looking at the, and imagine we sing this every single morning. Okay. So what are we praying for? So it's very important to look at the diacritics and to pronounce the long, long and the short, short. Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. Another way of reciting this verse, there is another tune which is the traditional tune. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Parau Premamritambho Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyau Priyakarau Nirmatsarau Pujitau. So if you look at the same tune can be used for the nectar of instruction verse, the second last one. Vaikunta janito varamadhupuri tatrapi rasotsavat vrindaranyam vid udhara pani ramanat tatrapi govardhanah Radha kundamihapi gokulapate premamrita plavanat kuryadasya virajato giritate sevam vivekinakaha. So it's the same Shardula Vikriditam, but there are two tunes to it. So feel free to use whichever comes easily. So for a lot of traditional Indian verses, we tend to use the one that I just sang for the Nectar of Instruction one. So that's Shardula Vikriditam. Then we come to 21 verses per line, which is our Mangalachan Prayer, the prayer to the Shad Goswamis, the prayer to our Guru, all the Vaishnavas, and then to the Panchatattva, and then Radha Krishna and all the Sakhis. It is in a verse, it is in the meter called Sragdhara. What does Srag mean? We just saw it earlier.
Garland.
Garland, yes. Yes. The Srag means garland. Dhara means holding. So what is the poet here doing? He's holding a garland of a beautiful verse, made up of a beautiful verse to offer to all these elevated souls. So, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. That is Shraddhara. So when you come across something with 21 syllables, it should most probably fit into that meter. Which are the verses at the end of the Brahma-Samhita, the last two ones? Who remembers them? Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Bhumadrumischintamani Ganamayi Toyam Amritam Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanam Vipivam Shri Priya Sakhi Idanandam Jyoti Paramapis Tata Swadyamapi Cha Sa Yatra Kshirabdi Shravati Surabhibhyascha Sumahan Nimeshardhakya Va Vrajati Nahi Yatrapi Samayaha भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहमिह गोलोकमिति यं विदन्तस्ते सन्तक्षितिविरलचारा कतिपये. So, because invariably, we tend to sing the beautiful Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami, and then we come to this verse and then we go, it's like a big clash of all, different kinds of utensils. Just chuck them all together and try and make some pattern out of it. But instead, this is actually the way to sing it. I actually forgot to put that in. So how many syllables would that be? Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo. So 21. So it's the same. But it's in a different meter. So it will fit the Vandeham kind of as well. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Priya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kalpataravo. It should fit. Does it make sense? Okay. Now, the next one. Now, the last two verses, I've just put them in because I found them incredibly beautiful. So this is 23 syllables, and it's in a meter called Shravana Abharanam. Shravana Abharanam, the ornament for the ear. Okay. And this is the Mahishasuramardini Stotram, which a lot of Indians, especially South Indians, would know. And it's so beautiful. So it just goes, Aigiri Nandini Nandita Medhini Vishwa Vinodini Nandanute Girivara Vindya Shirodhini Vasini Vishnu Vilasini Jishnunute Bhagavati He Shiti Kanta Kutumpini Bhuri Kutumpini Bhuri Krute Jaya Jaya He Mahishasuramardhini Ramya Kavartini Shaila Sute. Na, 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 na. It's so soothing to the ear, isn't it? Shravanabharanam, 23 syllables. And the last one I thought was a real treat. I found this. It is 26 syllables. And the meter itself is called Shiva Tandava. Now, Lord Shiva, when he dances, he doesn't dance gently like, Lord Krishna dances with the gopis. He dances the way Lord Krishna dances on Kaliya. Yeah. And in fact, when Lord Shiva dances, there is a lot more energy there. There's just a lot more energy because he is out, he is in ecstasy. So this is a Nataraja Stotra created by Patanjali. Patanjali, if you remember, is the one who wrote the Yoga Sutras. Okay. And it is beautiful. Just look at this. Just as you hear it, you can almost see Lord Shiva dancing there. Sadanchita mudanchita nikunchita padam jala jalanchalita manjukatakam Patanjali driganjana mananjana machanchala padam janana banjana karam Kadamba ruchimambara vasamparma mambuda kadamba kakvidamba kagalam Chidambudi madimbuda hridambuja kravim Parachidambara natim hridi bhaje. It's almost like, there is a whole da 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 da. That's the, those of us who come from India and who have seen Hindi movies where, you have Lord Shiva dancing, this is the kind of, rhythm that he's following, isn't he?
Yes.
It's just so beautiful. It's called Shiva Tandava. The rhythm itself, the meter itself is called Shiva Tandava. So I just thought I'd put it in there just to show you how a meter can affect what goes into it. And to elaborate on that, I would like to look at the Chorashtakam now. Yeah. So remember last time we said that the first verse is in a meter called Viparitakhyanaki. Okay. Viparita means opposite. Akhyanaki means narration or story. So the first verse is telling us a story which is contradictory. So what does the first verse say? Navanita chauram cha gopangananam cha dukula chauram aneka janmarjita papa chauram chauragraganyam purusham namami. So now, Sanskrit class students, which is the verb in this particular verse?
Prasiddham.
Verb.
Chauram.
Verb.
Noun.
What does the verb end in usually? Aham karomi.
Namami.
Namami, correct. Namami is the verb. Okay, so this whole verse is around, okay, I am bowing down. Okay, I am bowing down. So that is the story. I am bowing down. Now comes the contrariness, the viparita. Who am I bowing down to? Somebody who's very famous in Vraja, which is good. Famous people are worth bowing down to. But what is he famous for? Navanita Chauram. He is the thief of butter. Now, not only is he a thief of butter, okay, maaf kiya, it's only butter. Gopangana namcha dukula chauram. He steals the clothes of the gopis. And then what? Aneka janma arjita papa chauram. Oh. In my life, lifetime after lifetime, aneka janma arjita, I have just gathered, very carefully gathered. What have I very carefully gathered? Papa, sins. So whatever I have very carefully gathered, he steals that away. To that, agra ganyam. Agra means what? Foremost, the front. Agra means in front.
Yes.
Ganyam, to be counted. The one who is foremost. Foremost among whom? Chaura, thieves. Purusham namami. So there comes all the opposites. Now the second verse is even more beautiful. So it says, Shri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navambuda Shyamala Kanti Chauram Padashritanam Cha Samasta Chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami. So Radhikaya means
Radhikas. Radhi.
good. Very good. Hridayasya.
Heart. Of her heart.
Hearts. Very good. Okay. So Chauram. The theft. Okay. The person who's doing the thief of Shri Radhika's heart. Okay. Nava Ambuda. Ambuda means Ambu means water. The means giver. Nava means new. So Ambu, the giver of water, is cloud. Nava Ambuda, the newly formed clouds. Newly formed water-bearing clouds are usually very dark. So Shyamala, their darkness. Kanti. Kanti means brightness. Chauram. He steals the brightness of the dark clouds. Okay. Padashritanam. Pada, feet. Ashritanam, one who takes shelter. Samasta Chauram. And steals everything, samasta, from those who take shelter at his feet.
Stays with him.
Okay, so this is the primary meaning. Look at the name of the meter.
Jaya. Jaya.
It's Jaya.
Jaya.
Jaya. Jaya means what?
Giving. Nikal gaya.
No. Jaya means wife.
Oh.
Okay, Jaya means wife. Now look at each of these lines and the meaning changes. Okay, the first line, Shri Radhikayaha Hridayasya Chauram. Who is Shri Radhika? His wife, his consort. Jaya means wife or consort, right? Okay. Navambuda Shyamala Ka. Now, break this up. Navambuda Shyamala. Who is Navambuda Shyamala?
Krishna.
Krishna. Okay. Now, Kanti, another meaning of Kanti is consort. Chauram. So he is the thief of, again, Radharani. He's not only stealing her heart, he's stealing her away. He's stealing all her senses. He's stealing everything. Okay. Now, when you look at all his jayas, who are the padashritas who have surrendered everything to him?
Gopis.
Gopis. Padashrita namcha
Samasta.
Samasta Chauram.
Wow.
Just because we realize that this is now in a metre called Jaya. Just because it's in a meter called Jaya. Isn't that beautiful?
It's amazing.
And then we have another meter. The third and the fourth are in a meter called Mala. Mala means garland. So here he says, now this is a garland of praise. So he goes, Akinchani kritya padashritam yah karoti bhikshum pathi gehahinam kenapyaho bhishana chauraidrik drishta shruto vana Jagatrayepi akinchani kritya padashritam yah. So whoever is your padashrita, whoever is surrendered to you, to your lotus feet, akinchani, you made them completely helpless. And then what have you done? Bhikshu, you made them beggars. Pati, on the street. Geha heenam, without any home. Kena api aho. Aho means, oh my God. Bhishana, terrible. Chaura, idrik, like this. Drishtaha, shrutaha va, na jagat trayepi. In the three worlds, I have not seen or heard of any such thief who not only takes everything away from one who is surrendered, he brings them down onto the street. And still, I love you. Why? Because Mala. And then he says, Yadiya namapi haratya shesham giriprasaranapi paparashin Ashcharya rupo nanu chauraidrig drishtashruto vana maya kadapi namapi yadiya jiske one whose name alone namapi harati takes away ashesham one that cannot be shesh means end. So ashesham, endless. Endless giri prasaran. Giri means mountain. Prasara means width or coverage. So as much as a mountain can cover. Api papa rashi. So one mountain is one papa. Rashi. Rashi means string. So he says, we are talking about an endless number of mountainous lines of mountains. That much papa, sins, just your name alone can take away. He says, Ashcharya Rupo Nanu Chaura Idrik. What a wonderful form you have, Rupa Ashcharya. Nanu, isn't it? Chaura Idrik Drishta. Such a beautiful looking thief. I have never seen before or heard of in my life. Then he goes on again with Viparitakhyaniki. He says, Dhanam cha manam cha tathendriyani pranamscha hritva mama sarvameva palayase kutra dritodya chaura tvam bhakti dhamnasi maya niruddhaha mama dhanam cha manam cha indriyani cha pranan sarvam hritva, after taking away, hritva, taking away, after taking away my dhanam, my wealth, my manam, my respect, indriyani, my senses, my prana, my life air itself, sarvameva, everything about me you have taken away. Palayase kutra, where are you running away now? Adya, dritaha adya, dritaha, you are now caught by me. Maya, dritaha, you are now caught by me. Adya, adya means today. Remember? Adya, hyaha. Yeah, so adya. Hey, chaura. And see, here we come to Sambodhana again. It's not chauram, it is not chauraha, it is chaura. He's calling out, hey, chor, you thief. Where do you think you're running away? I have caught you. And how have I caught you? Tvam bhakti damnasi maya niruddha. Bhakti damna, the rope of bhakti. Remember Damodara, Dama. Dama means rope. Yeah. So with the rope of bhakti, you are now tied up. Niruddha. You can't move anywhere. And then in the next verse, he talks about, this verse is in Maya. Okay. He says, now why is this Viparita Kyaniki? Let's just go back to the previous verse. Can anybody think?
He does not want the thief to go away. He wants to arrest him. He wants to
Bind him.
bind him.
Yes. But the Viparita part, because everybody wants to bind the thief, right?
Yeah,
Viparita
but
part is the
it's
bhakti.
the opposite. The bhakti, right? Bhakti damnasi.
Because I love you so much, I'm going to bind you.
Wow.
Yeah? And now we come to Maya. Chinatsi ghoram yamapasha bandham. Bhinatsi bhimam bhavapasha bandham. Chinatsi sarvasya samasta bandham. Naivatmano bhakta kritam tu bandham. You can break the terrible ghoram yamapasha, which the Yamadutas, Lord Yama's pasha rope is considered very strong. The Yamaduta's rope is considered very strong. Nobody can break away from it, but you can easily cut it. Bhinatsi bhimam bhava pasha bandham. We're all caught in the cycle of birth and death over and over. That cycle, that rope which binds us, you can cut that also very easily. Chinatsi sarvasya samasta bandham. Not only that, we all have so many bandham, in our lives. We are so tied up to so many things, so many attachments. He says, Chinatsi sarvasya samasta bandham. All this is due to Maya. Right? What is Maya? Illusion that I am supreme. I am the doer. And that is what keeps us bound in this material world. So that Maya, you can easily destroy. But Naivatmano bhakta kritam tu bandham. Atmanah bhakta kritam. Your own self, your own bhakta, when he does a bandham to you, naiva, you can't break that. Which means your yoga maya there is so strong, she binds you. Why? Because she is partial to the bhakta. You are partial to the bhakta. And in the next verse is called Rama, the meter. Rama means giving pleasure. Manmanase tamasya rashi ghore कारागृहे दुःखमये निबद्धः लभस्व हे चौर हरे चिराय स्वचौर्यदोषोचितमेव दण्डम्. My heart, man manase, in my heart, tamasa rashi ghore, there is terrible darkness, terrible ignorance in my heart. And dukkhamaya, it is dukkhama, it's filled with sorrows, that heart of mine. Now that is the prison house for you, O thief, karagraha. O thief, hey chaura, hare, one who takes away everything, that is the prison house for you, where chiraya, forever, for a very, very, very long time. I'm going to give you danda. Danda means punishment. And that punishment is uchitam. Uchitam means it is appropriate. It is perfect for you. It is appropriate for you. Swachaurya dosha uchitam. The dosha, the mistake that you have committed by doing all this thievery, it is the perfect punishment for you. Now this verse gives pleasure to both the devotee and the Lord. Although when you look at it, it's actually quite a dark kind of verse, isn't it? My heart is so dark. It's so filled with ignorance. It's so filled with sorrow. It's like a prison house. And I'm going to capture you and I'm going to put you there forever and ever. And that is your punishment. And what is Lord Krishna doing when he hears this? He's so happy. He immediately comes and sits there. Rama. So such a verse is not there to give displeasure to the Lord. It doesn't give pain to the Lord. On the contrary, it gives pleasure to the Lord. And the poet is so clever because when we say, okay, Krishna, I'm going to bind you and put you in my heart. Remember in the Damodara Ashtakam, we say 2 fingers, right? One is our endeavor and the second is Lord Krishna's mercy. But he has, so our endeavor is I'm holding you and putting you in my heart. But he has to agree to go in, right? But the poet has already precluded that possibility by saying, Naivatmano bhakta kritam tu bandham. But oh Krishna, remember, when your devotee decides to tie you up, you cannot escape. So already he's reminded the Lord about it, okay? So I'm already telling you that. Now I'm going to catch you and put you in my heart. And you can't escape from there. How beautiful is that? And so that's little Krishna, okay, in our hearts. Now the last verse, I want you to guess what meter this is. First count the number of syllables. How many syllables is that?
14.
14?
The first line is 14.
Okay. So, Karagrihe vasa sada hridaye madiye. 14. So which meter do you think? Let's look at the ones which are in 14, okay?
It is Garland.
Okay. 14 is
Ragini?
14, remember, is the Brahma-Samhita as well, Vasanta Tilaka. So the tune for Vasanta Tilaka would be Venum Kwananda Maravinda Danayataksham. Let's try that, okay? And see if it works. Kara grihe vasa sada hridaye madiye. It works.
Yeah.
Madbhakti pasha dhridabandhana nischalas san. Tvam Krishna he pralaya koti shatantarepi. Sarvasya chaura hridayanna hi mochayami. So it is Vasanta Tilaka. So here he says, in that prison, Kara Grihe, in the prison, Saptami, Vasa, Sada, Hridaye, in that heart of mine, you stay forever. Mad Bhakti Pasha Drida Bandhana Nishchalaha san. By becoming immovable due to the tight tying of the rope of my bhakti. Tvam, He Krishna, pralaya koti shata antare api. Even though there may be pralaya. How many pralayas? Koti shata. Koti means crore. Crore is 10 million. Shata means 100. So we're talking about hundreds and thousands of million pralaya. In the world may come to an end. Api. He sarvasya chaura. O thief of everything. Hridayat nahi mochayami. I mocha moksha. Okay. I am not going to relieve you. I am not going to release you. Vasanta Tilaka. So this is the beautiful Chorashtakam by Sri Bilwamangal Thakur. So now do you see how the meter actually feeds the meaning as well? So a little knowledge of the meter can actually give us a much deeper understanding of the meaning of the verse. Yeah, and help us to sing it with that much more feeling. Okay, now coming back to our
Mataji, I have a question here.
yes.
When I heard this song on YouTube, this Ashtakam, I don't know if that was Vasanta Tilaka, but it went like this. Kara grihe vasasada hridaye madiye. Is this Vasanta Tilaka?
You can sing it, Mataji. What actually happens is there is the basic meter. And then there are these musicians who can actually put a beautiful tune around it.
Okay.
Okay. The only thing to remember there is as long as the ahs and the us are clear, for the sake of the tune, the kara grihe doesn't become karagrihe, karagrihe, you're okay. So the long syllables should remain long, the short syllables should remain short. Then you're okay. You can put it to any tune.
Yeah, that makes
And I
sense.
think that's a beautiful tune. If it fits this shloka, then yes, why not? It's a very beautiful tune.
Also, Mataji, I have one more question where we talk about Laghu Guru, Laghu Guru. Always this Laghu Guru has to be according to the vowel sounds, the consonant with, and the two consonants that come after that. Always in every verse, it's going to be like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when we talk about a meter, the meter is defined by that pattern of Laghu Gurus. So for instance, if we look at our examples here, if you look at Viparita Akyaniki, the odd lines have this pattern and the even lines have this pattern. So they alternate. Okay. So this is the pattern for Viparita Akyaniki. If this pattern is broken, it will go off and become something else. And let's look at our Radha Giridhari Jayatu, our homework. Did anybody try doing that homework?
Yes, I did that.
Oh, very good. So what did you do, Mataji? Share with us, please.
Do you want to write it somewhere, Mataji? I just did like Guru Guru because Radha, it was like ah.
Okay. Okay, I've got it here. So tell me if this is what you have. Go ahead.
Guru Guru Lagu Lagu Guru Guru.
Yeah, Guru
Lagu.
Guru Guru. because it's the DH,
Correct?
then Guru Laghu, and then Laghu Laghu Guru.
Excellent. So you have Guru Guru Laghu Laghu. Is it? But DH is the, it is not the.
Ah, that's right. So that's Laghu, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's Guru Guru Laghu Laghu.
Hmm.
Guru Laghu. Laghu Laghu Laghu.
Guru Laghu. Guru Laghu. Huh.
And how many syllables? We got 9 syllables.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
And
if
Laghu
you
Laghu
want to
Laghu.
put this into a meter, did you try putting it into any meter?
No.
So what I did was, now this is how an absolute imbecile like myself would go about doing a shloka. So I looked at the 9 syllables. I said, okay, this is the pattern. And this does not fit into any of these patterns. It is not like any of them at all. So then what I did, I put a Shri in front to make it 10 syllables. And I tried that. That didn't fit either. So then I went even one better. I said, okay, maybe if I did 11 syllables and I went Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Jayatu. Didn't work either because now I've got Guru 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 Laghu Laghu, which is quite a difficult kind of meter. So then I brought it down to 9 syllables again. I said Jayatu Radha Giridhari. I put the Jayatu in front. And now I had this particular string, which is Laghu 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 Guru Guru Laghu Laghu Guru Laghu, with 9 syllables, which happens to be the middle portion of a meter called Saurabhavardhini, which is 11 syllables, not 9. Now I've got Jayatu Radha Giridhari, which is 9 syllables, this pattern, which is sitting in the middle, but then I need a Laghu in front and a Guru at the back. So, which brings us to fillers. In shlokas, you will come across words like u, nu, he, tu, vai. Na? Savai Krishna Padara Vindayo, Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayo. Savai. The vai there is basically used as a filler. Even without the vai, the meaning remains the same. Okay? So here we have the option of using fillers in the beginning and the end, which basically means by the time I come to probably my second line, I'm going to have only fillers. End up with a shloka with more fillers than matter, okay? So here you could say, instead of Jayatu, you could say Ajayatu, which also means the same as Jayatu. The Ajayatu Radha Giridhari, he, which will bring it to a Laghu actually. If I want Guru, I can put a vai at the end. Ajayatu Radha Giridhari, vai. And this whole process took me quite a long time. And this is definitely not how our acharyas compose verses. So they are all amazing. They are definitely when on YouTube, if you get the chance, please do watch Radhika Raman Prabhu's 3-part seminar series on Sanskrit for scriptural study. I came across it just very recently. And in that, he does discuss meters. And in that, he talks about one of his teachers at Oxford, who is what is known as an Ashtavadhani. Okay, and Ashtavadhani means one who's aware of 8 things at the same time. So is able to multitask on 8 levels at the same time. So how does an Ashtavadhani work? An Ashtavadhani is firstly, how does he get the title of an Ashtavadhani? So what actually happens is this person who wants to become an Ashtavadhani, in this particular case, Radhikaraman Prabhu's teacher at Oxford, the Sanskrit teacher, he is actually from Madras University, a Sanskrit Pandit. So what actually happens is he sits in the middle of the room and 8 people sit around him in a circle. Now, the first person asks him a question. So something like, so the example which Radhikaraman Prabhu uses is compose a verse describing Lord Ramachandra. Now, you have to tell me the verse 1 syllable at a time. So when we say Lord Ramachandra, Ramachandra, immediately what happens? The first, and we want to talk about Lord Rama, the first thing that will come up is what? Ra, right? So suppose he says, okay, Ra. Okay? He says Ra. So then this person immediately will say, okay, if you're going to go with Ra, I'm going to stop you right there. The next syllable cannot be ma. Okay. So, or before you say your first syllable, you've already composed a verse in your head. Correct? That's how you can say that my first syllable is Ra. So in my head, I've already got, let's say, Rama, Raghura, or Rama, Sitapati is what I've got in my head. But he says, the next one cannot be Ma, which throws my entire meter out. It throws my entire verse out. So then I say, okay, Ra, Gu. Okay. So it is not Rama. It's now become Raghu. So I cannot do that. So I have to find something which still goes with Ra. Okay. And in the story of Lord Rama, I don't think Radha can fit in. Right? So he has to come up with the next word. And immediately that person will say, okay, now the next syllable cannot be this. So in this manner, he continues and completes one line of a verse. And then the second person takes over. So the second person says, okay, in Sanskrit, I want you to tell me the story of, let us say, from the Mahabharata, Nala Damayanti, the story, but I want you to tell me in your own words from the Akasha Purana. Akasha Purana means there is no Purana which is Akash Purana. Akasha means in the air. Okay, so get it out of your imagination and tell me the story. So he starts off and he finishes, let's say, 4 lines, and that person says, okay, that's enough. The third person then says, okay, I want you to compose a verse about the beauty of the ocean in Chennai during springtime. So he composes this verse and the person says, okay, 1 verse. Then the fourth person says, he starts to talk politics in Sanskrit with him, so he's talking politics. And fifth person comes on and he tells him to probably, quote some work from memory. In this manner, seventh person does something else. The eighth person is very interesting. All he's doing is sitting at the back and throwing flowers at his neck. Okay. Now, what this person who is sitting for the exam is doing is when he comes back second round, the first person will tell him, okay, from where we left off, you did the first line. Now tell me the second line again, syllable by syllable. So he has to remember not only what he did with the first person, what he did with the second person, what he did with the third person, each person, and carry on from where he left off At the same time, he also has to keep account of the number of flowers hitting him at the back of his neck. And this was Radhikaraman Prabhu's teacher at Oxford. He's a Sri Vaishnava, a very blessed soul, an ardent bhakta of Lord Hayagriva. Now, as you know, Lord Hayagriva is the one who spoke the Vedas. So these things, definitely the Lord has to bless. And apparently, his name is Narsimachari, Professor Narsimachari. He was so impressed with ISKCON. He visited ISKCON quite a few times. He was so impressed with Srila Prabhupada. He read the Prabhupada Lilamrita complete work, all the 7 volumes. And then after that, he composed a poem of 100 verses called the Prabhupada Shatakam on Srila Prabhupada. 60 verses overnight. 60 verses overnight. And these are not just random verses, where we talk about, oh, you're a great person, you're a great devotee, you are a very kind person. No. He's talking about Prabhupada's character. He's talking about his activities. He's talking about how he spoke to this person and that person, what his relationships were in so much detail about the person. 100 verses, 60 in one night. And I think 40 or 20, basically within 1 week, 100 verses within 3 or 4 days. So there are people like that, empowered people like that. They are getting increasingly rare, given that Kali Yuga is coming in. There is a lot of memory that's involved in all this, which when you have a memory like a sieve is very, very difficult. But we do our best for the Lord. Yeah. So we have actually come to the end of our time. So if you have any questions, anybody? Any comments? Others?
Mataji, was this session recorded?
Yes.
Great.
I remembered to press the right buttons.
Thank you, Mataji, for recording it.
No problem. So yeah, so a very happy rest of the Purushottam month. We've actually discussed the Chorashtakam, which is one of my most favorite verses, songs. Initially it was just a favorite song because it talked about Krishna as a thief and it's just so cute and But now with understanding the meter and the meanings under it, it's just become that much more closer to my heart. So thank you very much for sharing that with me. And yeah, we'll meet next week in our usual class, 7:30. Okay,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Namo Namaha.
Namo Namaha.
Thank you.